Hello, everybody. Welcome one, welcome all, and welcome back to the Believe in Iowa State podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Carter.
And I'm your host, Cody Vanciello.
Cody, to say that this is not the ideal situation, it is a definitely a complete understatement. Iowa State loses a game they have no business losing. They lose to Colorado 20 24 to 17, and we get the field rushed on us for the second straight week. Cody, I feel like this was just a game of missed opportunities. What do you think?
Yep, that's been the trend the last 2 weeks. Yeah, missed opportunities. We started from what the first drive offensively. The team was driving well. Abu Salma, I'll say this. I'll get this right out of the way. Abu Salma had his best game at Iowa State since Snowmageddon his
Yes,
freshman year. This was definitely his best game. Well, 180 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. So if there's the one bright spot that we can talk about for this game, if there's only one I can say, it's definitely Abu Salma. That
yes,
he stepped up in the absence of Carson Hansen. But yeah, I mentioned missed opportunities. The first drive we had, the drive go well. We were, I believe, at like the 20, like we were inside the 30. We had
yeah,
another, but then this is going to be a trend. Penalties. We had a major holding penalty on Ben Bramer, and that killed the drive. Um, Later on, there was a drive where we had two procedural penalties in the same drive, and I think that killed any chance for us to get points. And that was just a continued theme, whether it was penalties or this one's even worse. This was the one that I was so infuriated about and frustrated about. The drops from the wide receivers.
my goodness,
They
bro.
continue
Yeah,
to they continue to frustrate me because I don't get it how there's obviously a lot of blame that people are throwing around. People are blaming Rocco, people are blaming the coaches, they're blaming the defense, they're blaming everybody. Part of I mean, you can't pile it all onto one individual unit. It's just a mix of missed opportunities. But one big one that was sore was the wide receiver drops, and this has been something that this is clearly showing the pain of not having two NFL caliber wide receivers like you had with Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll. And obviously, those are going to be big shoes to fill.
right.
And thus far, the wide receivers we have right now haven't been able to do so. And I didn't expect them to fill it all the way, but you expected more production out of them than what we've been seeing right now. And I don't know if it's like nerves or something, if Rocco's off or something, but these wide receivers just cannot bring the football in, even when Rocco puts them in the perfect spot. Now, granted, Rocco has sometimes missed an open ball to a receiver who's in the area, but there are also times where he puts it in the perfect spot for the wide receiver to grab it and they just drop it. And those plays are huge momentum plays that could be potentially lead to scores. And obviously, Iowa State didn't capitalize on it. And I got to tip my cap to Colorado. They were able to connect on those plays when they needed them the most. Because
Yep.
I'd say for Colorado, they maybe didn't even. I don't think they played as good of a game as maybe thought. Like it may look. I don't think Colorado played their best game of the year because they still had mistakes as well, but they were able to make the plays that mattered, and ultimately they were able to win because they made plays when they mattered.
Yeah, definitely. And friend of the show, Sunglow, he was like, yeah, it was a big mental breakdown game. Pure and simple. The boys will be back team before self. No, he's absolutely right. It is team before self. And like if you saw um like you know that this team cares. Like Rocco was basically in tears saying like yeah, he has to get it together. I mean, look, everybody has to get it together, man. Like Rock. I know it's not all on you. This is a team loss. Like everybody, the coaches, the everybody on the team. It's just a whole reset this week. And yeah, like for me, it's just like the first four drives, untimely penalties. And yeah, I know a lot of people are gonna want to blame the defense. The defense did what it could. The defense did what it could, and obviously there are certain situations where there were lapses in coverage, on especially that first touch on the second half, and then the third and 17 or whatever to before to end that basically iced the game. But yeah, I mean, like I can't really blame the defense on this one. I think this is really more on the offensive side of the football, and I really think just if it just wasn't a game of missed opportunities, it was just undisciplined football because, bro, all the procedural penalties, these are just mental things. And then I think the other one that annoyed me is that unsportsmanlike penalty by Tyler Moore. That, like, after we scored a touchdown, it was so unneeded. And that literally set Colorado up to score on the next drive. Like, I
Mhm.
was so, like, aggravated after that.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about undisciplined football. This is Iowa State in the last two games. In the loss versus Cincinnati, they had 8 penalties for 60 yards. In the game yesterday against Colorado, they had 7 penalties for 59 yards. So that's what, 15 penalties in the last two games for this Cyclone team. And this is very uncharacteristic because we're used to seeing Iowa State not really be this undisciplined. I mean, you go back to Arizona, only 1 penalty in that game, only 3 against Arkansas State. In the game against Iowa, I think there was only 1 or 2. Well, they had 5, but this feels like a very uncharacteristic amount of penalties for this Iowa State team, who I'm used to being much more disciplined. And I mean, Matt Campbell talked about in his post-game presser that they were like undisciplined and terrible when it came to attention to detail. Now, I know a lot of people in the reaction to this game, obviously, they don't want to hear any of that, and it's like it's all the same thing. The Matt Campbell basketball is not going to get fixed. But I mean, what else are you supposed to say? Like, what? I mean, what more do you want to say? Do you like want him to go? Do you want to go further on it? Well, I don't know how you would as a coach. You're trying. Yes, it was poor discipline. You want him to be honest, but at the same time, you don't want to like chuck people under the bus because if you do
Exactly.
that, then you're going to create a toxic culture, and that's not what you want. That's what Matt Campbell
Yeah.
doesn't want. So I think it comes down to that, and just, I mean, the things that irk the one thing that irked me the most, and is the just we mentioned the blame game being all over the place. People are starting to blame strength and conditioning because that's been a trend the last like couple of weeks, like the last like few weeks or so, with, like the injury bugs. I saw somebody be like, I saw one comment. It's like, bro, how can you not fucking criticize the strength and conditioning for all these injuries that happen? And I said this: strength and conditioning can only do so much for you to reduce the risk, but it's not going to take away any risk. And I mean, in the case of like, and I saw people saying like, stop making excuses. Everybody gets injured, but the problem is with Iowa State, our injuries take place in probably the worst place to do so when it's your kicker. That loses you points automatically, so that changes the way you
Exactly.
coach. And then you lose two starting corners, two NFL caliber ones, I'd say. And yeah, you have guys to step up, but there's a reason why you have starters and you have backups. You're not
Right.
expecting the backups to usually be producing on the same level as your starting corners, and especially when you have two NFL caliber corners, that the drop off is going to be there. Um, yeah, so I just don't get, but
No, like Cody, if I could step in for a second, this is the exact situation that we had during the basketball season when people were saying no excuses. And I'm like, when Keyshawn was out. So, like, when you have a player of that type of caliber and you're like missing production from that position, because when you said that, it definitely like reeled me in, and I was like, you know what, it's true. You're like, it's absolutely facts. Like, I know, like, we're, everybody is like emotional in the moment, but yeah, I mean, the simple fact is we are missing players and stuff, and like it like we are, you know, like a a walking wounded team. And obviously, yeah, we got to do what we got to do to move on and try to do it. But that's a lot that we're missing, and it's just, and hopefully, like I said, I put it in my tweets this morning that hopefully that we can get some good news on Kyle Conrad, because I feel like that would be a huge um like thing for this team to lift them back up. And then I just saw a few things from some of our fans. Sunglow, thank you for watching. So he said everyone has a day where we walk in the fog. It looked like they were still in that. Abu was way better than what I thought he'd be. Kudos to him. And yes, more knew better. So yeah, I like like I think. the frustrating thing is that like with these types of things, is that a lot of this stuff is fixable. Obviously, and I think the frustrating thing is like, we haven't seen it, and I look, I will say to me, I think that this is something that is just gonna have to be like coached out of people because at least like because like I don't think it's as okay for you when we were in this position last year, like were you more of a hopeless spot than you are now? Because I know a lot of people think that now, or that like basically that we could lose like every game from here on out. I don't think that we're that like not talented to not. I don't think we're gonna lose out. Like I think that's just people like overreacting. Also, like you got to see, but like from the stuff you've seen, it's not like really. It's sort of not hard for people to think that way. But like I have a feeling like this team is going to be able to turn around. And I was because last year we were decimated by that and stopping the run. Like we were stopping like we've been pretty good against the run this year so far. Last year it was just like after that Kansas game, it was just like where everybody's like mindset would. It reminds me of this year. So like at least where are you sitting at mentally, Cody? Um, in terms from rather than like at least from like this year at this point from last year because I feel like this could be like our Kansas game from last year.
Um, I think yeah, there's a mirror obviously with Kansas last year, and obviously I think for sure the expectation, and this is something that's going to be big. The expectation has to shift.
Yeah,
Um, at a very because like I think with the way the Big 12 is shaping out, I mean you got lucky last year with the tiebreakers working on your favor. This year doesn't seem to be the case because you got a lot of teams still ahead of you. You got the likes of Texas Tech, BYU, Utah, Cincinnati, Arizona State ahead of you. So I think you have to shift those expectations. Mentally speaking, for me, I think just looking at the whole picture as a whole, there. I mean, I saw like it's hard to explain, but I mean, just the way I look at it is like, okay, you hit the spot last year. Do you have the same mental toughness as you did last year? Because I've seen people saying that this team isn't mentally tough enough. But just and yeah, it's there's an understanding of that because the way they what they showed in the game yesterday and last week against Cincinnati. Maybe this isn't the same mentally tough team, but I mean, this bye week comes at a perfect time. I think it's like it's time to go back to that in some way, shape, or form. It's time to relearn those things, and usually, like with the track record that this team has and last, I think there's a precedent for that, and I think there's a cautious optimism I have with being able to get back into form. There's a cautious optimism because the schedule for you as Iowa State, it's going to get tough because I mean you have number 50. I mean your upcoming schedule is not looking pretty, but it's still attainable. You just have to find a way to navigate this rough patch. And if last year showed, I mean Rocco knows for sure, like he knows what it's like. So he did say he wants to be a better leader, and I think he's just got to show that, and I think he can show that.
yeah. So you know what? I'll push back on what you said about the mental toughness thing. I do think that this team is mentally tough enough. I just think that in these last two games, we've had way too many mental lapses. Because I will say it took mental toughness for us to beat K State and for us to beat Iowa in both those games. Because those are definitely emotionally grueling games. I just think that we've had way too many mental lapses and too many mistakes, and just like we said in this segment, it's called undisciplined football. Like it's we've seen way too much of it. It's been way too lax. Like you said, like Campbell said, way too lax, and he like obviously he said that he's been letting that happen. So I'm excited to see how this team comes out of the bye week, and then there's a few more things I want to talk about before we head and look at the Big 12 slate, but we have a few more topics. Next one, we're going to talk about this offense being out of sync. I just, I don't, I don't know if, if you know. the running game has been like all right, and like I really like what I saw from Dylan yesterday with how he ran. I like what I saw from Abu, but man, this I feel like this just passing game has been so inconsistent. Like I don't know like what you can really do to fix it. I I don't know. What do you think about this? Because this is really something that I thought that this offense would be at least in sync, passing wise.
Yeah, I mean, a lot. I think it just comes down to possibly the health of Rocco because obviously we saw that the big hit he took at Cincy and he hasn't been looked the same. So I wonder if part of the offense being out of sync is Rocco like taking that big hit. Maybe he's not playing like the same. Those passes aren't like connecting the same way they would. And also the situations that the offense finds themselves in because they're out of sync. I mean, I saw those third down situations that we tend to find ourselves and we keep finding ourselves in those long third down situations. And I think part of that plays into us being out of sync is because we have to do certain things because we aren't in like the best of situations. So it's just a lot of things that go together. So possibly the health of Rocco plays a factor into it. And I mean, I just, it's really difficult to say from what I've seen because a lot of moving pieces go together. But I mean, I know Rocco still trusts the wide receivers and the tight ends to make catches, but it's just the situations that they continue to find themselves in on second and third downs when plays don't work. So, and I think part of that also goes to those procedural penalties, those false starts and holdings that gets them out of sync, and it forces the playbook to be limited a bit because of those penalties. So, yeah, it's just the penalties going hand in hand with getting into third and long situations that forces the team to do stuff they don't want to do, and also the play calling to an extent because there are certain situations that you usually don't expect to be running a certain place, but they do. I mean, if we want to talk about that play calling as a factor, it's the inconsistency of like going for it on fourth down because they went for it on fourth down and about a yard and a half inside their own 20, but then they proceed to punt the ball uh, on fourth down after being in a third and long situation and making a really
Yeah,
poor play call. And I think that was infuriating is also the play calling because I don't know what's going on the last 2 weeks, but the play calling has just been putrid from Taylor
I don't
Mosley and
even
company.
I don't even know what like it's called like that trying to like QB sneaking on the nine. I was wondering. I'm like, this is where we should be punting because I have a feeling the defense would have gotten us a stop on that drive, and then luckily we only held them to a field goal because that could have been game set match if they would have scored a touchdown there. But like I'm like, what are we doing? And then obviously, like you saying the offense is out of sync. That one drive where before the interception, or no, it was the one where we QB sneaked on that where Gabe Burkle was in stride on that one, and he could have gotten the first down, and he was looking
Least.
downfield, and they dropped it, and that just got us. It's just getting in those situations right there, to
Yeah.
where if you would have gotten that's it in that situation. The plays that can keep the drive alive. I saw that way too many times where we dropped crucial balls like that were in stride, and that just ruined the sync of the offense, and going up tempo, that sort of ruins the up tempo when you like drop a ball like that, or balls that should be like be caught in those type of situations when you're trying to go up tempo.
Yeah. It's ironic that are one of our sponsors or whatever, like whatever cycles have. Like we have Allstate Insurance, obviously, like as like a presenting sponsor whenever we take PATs. We do not have good hands right now. I made like I've seen the joke of like I wonder. I swear our guys had to have been covering their hands with Vaseline that day, or they might have gotten caught in the Colorado week because I don't know what those guys were on. They just could not bring in a football to save their lives, and it just kept building frustration. And I think part of the off like Miles like and the frustration of play calling is just because these plays are working because we're not executing them. So it's
Well, yeah,
really
I think it's really that's the thing is that these plays these plays like definitely work. It's just that the frustrating thing is that we're just not executing. That's really the key, is that it's just not that we're not executing the plays. We just have to go out there and do it. That's the thing, is just going out there and doing it. That's the thing, Cody. We got to go out there and do it. Like I'm like, that's how I'm saying. Like, I'm really really curious to see, obviously, because they're going to put Kingston and stuff during the bye week. It's a much needed rest.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
Carson Brown is back, so I'm excited to see what these wide receiver sets are going to be like
Mm-hmm.
when we go get back on the field at BYU.
Okay.
And then
You want to
last,
wait,
oh, go
wait,
ahead, go
so
ahead.
speaking of BYU, I put this tweet out saying I slept in the like and I woke up and I tweeted this in the morning, said we are still in decent shape to win out. Seeing BYU get tested by Arizona and they're up, so I basically made it talking about the rest of our schedule. BYU, they're not just hosting the Holy War. That game's going to be the big new kickoff game, and they just like had a really tight game against Arizona. So there are some flaws there with them, and then seeing what BYU does in the Holy War, we'll see how that turns out. I also mentioned that ASU will depend on Sam Levitt's health because who knows? Because Arizona State's not the same team without
They're
Sam
not
Levitt,
the
as we
same
saw.
team.
And then I
Yeah,
said, if Kansas State beat TCU, so can we. So I'm saying, like, if they can beat them, then we have a chance. And then KU and Oklahoma State are to be determined. And I had somebody mention, we are not going to win another game besides maybe Okie State. We suck, dude. I had somebody tweet that. I'm like reading that. I just read that now. I'm like,
we
yep.
got to get out of our we got to get up out of our feelings, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like, I get, like, I understand we're all frustrated and stuff, but like, we gotta. I like it took me until like a few hours after. I'm like, you know what, we gotta. It usually takes me like a bit or not that long to get over losses, like a few hours after the game, but like
Yeah.
I was still dwelling on it up until today, and I'm like, you know what, we'll go. We got a while to think about this. There's tons of stuff that this team, or this coaching staff and this team can get to be better. um, and I'm excited to see what this coaching staff can do. Just one more topic that we're gonna close to end this game. So one of the things that like we talked about this year and this season is that we do not want this to be a repeat of 2021. The only pushback that I'll have about this season being 2021 is that I will say is that in 2021 a lot of the one score games went the other way, and a lot of the stuff that we lost in these two games, a lot of this stuff that we have been going through in the 2 days have been like, yes, like in 2021 we have a lot of self-inflicted stuff, and like we lost two games because of it. But like I feel like this team is more well equipped and more mentally tough to overcome that. So like I guess with you, Cody, do you see this season being like 2021?
Um, yeah. I mean, having lived through that, obviously, and like, I, it's hard for me to like say no, and maybe that's just me because I'm reading so much. Like maybe I'm just too much like reading into it and like already thinking about the worst. And like it's easy to do that when you lose, and I think the team knows that too. But we were kind of saying, but if that was the case, it would take a total collapse the entire rest of the season. And I think this
Right.
team simply cannot. Like they know they cannot do that. They know they cannot do that because I know those are probably like past ghosts that they do not want to ever have to deal with again. And obviously, I think this bye week comes at a perfect time for them. So I'm gonna say no. I need to see more of like the season because
Yes.
with the timeline. I'm assuming Conradi should be back for BYU, from what I'm understanding.
Right.
Because if he's back around the time we get to BYU, we should be okay slot. Because I think Conradi, a lot of like the things that we get ourselves into is the kicky situation. Like, and I don't want to use that as an excuse, but
It's
it's not,
true, man. It's
it's
not an
factual
excuse.
because if you're down, like I don't know, if there's been another team that got in all places to get injured. You have both of your main kickers injured before you even got to main conference play. Both of them got injured. And then you have
Yeah.
even your third string was dealing with something with his hamstring. So we sent out on kickoff a four-string offensive lineman as a kicker, and his kickoff was in addition to the 15-yard penalty we got because of Tyler Moore's unsportsmanlike conduct. And I mean that still was a decent boot, but it's just a lot of those errors that can be that should be fixed, and they can be.
Right, exactly. And I also think that like I one thing I push back on is that this makes, and I'm not like making excuses or anything, but like this season is a lot more bearable at 5-2, mainly because we have already beaten K State and we've beaten Iowa. And the thing is, in 2021, like with all the stuff coming into that Iowa game, we played horrible in the UNI game and barely won that. And then with all the stuff with wearing the black jerseys against Iowa and with all this expectation and all of that being on like Brock and everybody, and they did like just fell to the pressure, and Iowa just ate all that up, and we ended up like being hyped for that game, but didn't end up showing up. So I don't think that this, unless we're absolutely wrong and like this team is not who we thought they were. Yeah, I don't see a collapse like 2021, like because we would have to like go what? Because we gotta have to go 2-3 to get to 7-5, and I think we're gonna win like at least three or four more games
Yeah,
this season. So
yeah,
like I think we should probably I think we should chill out on that talk. I think like obviously with two losses in a row and playing undisciplined football, obviously that thought is going to come up. But I think that this team is better than this. And hey, maybe I'm just blowing sunshine and you may think that we're bozos, but hey, you know what? I don't care. I believe in this team, and I think that they're going to turn it around.
yeah. I yeah. I mean, you've got two games at home, and your home fans. They may not be it, but I think I'm hoping this fuels. I think the way, I mean, you get the bye week, like I said, at the perfect time because you get to take a look at BYU as they host the Holy War, but you also get a look at Arizona State, and you keep seeing what Sam Levitt's health looks like. But Arizona State, they got to deal with Texas Tech, and obviously Texas Tech is without a doubt the best team in the Big 12, and I
Yes,
think
they
it's
are.
clear. I mean, if we set a clear tier list of the Big 12 real fast, I would throw in Texas Tech, Utah. I
Yep.
think Texas Tech is clear number one. They're on their own tier. The
Yes,
tier
they
right
are.
below them would be BYU, Cincinnati, Utah, and Arizona State.
Yes,
The
that would
next,
be my
yeah,
order.
and then the next tier would be like Houston, Baylor, Kansas, us, I'd say, and between Kansas State and Arizona, I feel like I might throw in Arizona.
I'd throw in Arizona. Arizona is actually pretty solid.
Yeah,
If they made a few more plays yesterday, they probably would have won that game. So,
yeah. I
plus,
mean,
let's not forget that they had a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter. So,
yeah. So, I mean, this is the perfect time for us to rest up and really, and you got two home games, so you want to be back in front of your home crowd because it's going to be the first time in a month because we had the
yeah,
one home against Arizona and then you had two road games against a team that isn't necessarily great. They just made more plays, and then Cincinnati is proven to be a real juggernaut. Cincinnati is the real deal. There's no
yes,
doubt
they
about it.
are.
And then
My goodness.
and then Caden Salter's actually he's growing in confidence. So you deal with a Caden Salter that is growing in confidence, and you combine that with your own shooting yourselves in the foot continuously. So I think it's just those shooting yourselves in the foot moments that just frustrate you as a whole. But those are things that can and need to be ironed out, and I can trust the staff to do so. Others may not trust them. They may and I'm seeing the criticism of the coaching staff, and I think there is understandable criticism, and but people want to be right about things. Just this is the kind of world we live in, and this is not even a coaching related thing. This is just a whole sports media thing. People want to be proven right all the time, and
Of
they're going to
course.
stick by something until they're proven right, and we're seeing it in real time, and they want to let you know that they were right the whole time.
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's just a sick obsession, and I mean, I can form my own opinions without you needing to be up in my face saying, "See, I told you so." It's an unhealthy thing to live in.
Yeah, I was like, are you doing this because you want to be right, or are you doing this because you want the team to be do well? Because I feel like people would be wanting to stick on their narratives because like, ah, see, I told you I was right, and then you just make yourself end up looking like a complete idiot. But yeah, man, we are gonna just put that in the game in the rearview mirror, and hey, we got to move on, just like the football team is. So we
Mhm.
are going to take a look at the conference schedule or the conference schedule yesterday. We're gonna start with probably the game of the day. BYU and Arizona. BYU survives in overtime and double overtime as BYU wins 33-27.
Yeah, Bear Bachmeyer is legitimate. I think this is an even better team than what they had last year because I think Bear
Yeah.
Bachmeyer is making the plays that Jake Retzlaff wouldn't. Because yeah, even how good Jake Retzlaff was a quarterback, there were certain plays he couldn't make, and Bear Bachmeyer showing to clearly be that guy. So they're off to another 6-0 start, 3-0 in the conference, tied for first. And yeah, huge plays, I think, on the ground for Barrett Bachmeyer as well. Because I felt like anytime he got the football and he was on the ground running, he could get certain things. I mean, he had 22 carries for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is behind LJ Martin's 162 yards and 1 touchdown. But yeah, the dual threat ability of Barrett Bachmeyer, even though he had 1 or 2 interceptions passing, he only had 172 yards. He made plays work on the ground, and that kind of quarterback is dangerous. And he's only a freshman too. I mean, people are going to talk about it all the time, but yeah, the fact he's a freshman doing this is great. Great news for BYU. So, and Arizona, they came out to play. No, I mean they had North Vita had 219 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, and the rushing game for Arizona had 165 yards and 1 touchdown. So they're going blow for blow with BYU. BYU was just able to make plays down the stretch. They were able to come back down 10 with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. But yeah, this is a great show, a great toughness for BYU. This sets them up really well for what's going to be an emotional game in the Holy War. And the fact that they're hosting it, I think this game is going to this Holy War game is going to be a crucial one in the race for the Big 12.
Oh, it sure is. It's going to be a separator of who's there and who's a fake. So we'll talk about who their opponent, Utah. Utah gets a huge win against the Sun Devils. Sam
Levitless, yeah.
Sam Levitless, Arizona State at that 42-10. But Devin Dampier just continues he with 120 yards, and Jeff Sims is the passing leader with 124 yards. But Utah would just ran the hell out of the ball. That's what they do, and they just bludgeoned ASU to death.
Yeah, it's clear that Arizona State is not the same team without Sam Levitt, and it showed. Jeff Sims by no means like is on the level of Sam Levitt, and I think if Sam Levitt was playing in this game would be a lot closer than the scoreboard shows. But I
Right.
mean, but it just shows that Utah can dominate you physically. Yeah, we mentioned their rushing numbers. That comes down to physicality on the offensive line, and it clearly showed that Utah is the much better team in the trenches. The Texas Tech game feels like an outlier, and maybe that's just because Texas Tech's defensive line is just that good. So we come back to that Texas Tech Utah game. That game's just showed that early conference game just showed how good Texas Tech was. That said more about Texas Tech than it did Utah, and Utah up to this point has done a great job at responding to that loss against Texas Tech, bludgeoning West Virginia 40-14 and bludgeoning Arizona State 42-10. So if Utah is the team, like Utah, as much as I hated them when they first came in, they are kind of good. They're if them being good, if they're good, then they're good for the Big 12 because Utah
It is, yeah,
is probably one of the biggest nationally known brands in the Big
right.
12. So if they're good, that's good for the Big 12. And as much as I hated that, that's just true.
It
Uh,
is, yeah. Them getting back to what they were in the Pac-12, just running rush out over those finesse teams that were in the Pac-12. Yeah, man, it's definitely something that we need.
mhm. So we'll have to see the health of Sam Levitt because if this continues for Arizona State, then the matchup that I thought was going to be a really good one on November 1st, heading into the season, it may not be the same just because of this. Just checking on the status of Sam Levitt.
Yeah,
Hopefully, I kind of wish like you know the whole trend of like teams suddenly like when injured players suddenly return against Iowa State, then they ball out. I
yep,
kind of do. Part of me doesn't want that, but at the same time, I do want that because I want to go up against a really good Arizona State team because Sam
right.
Levitt was a part of the team that absolutely killed Iowa State in Arlington. So I want to get a measure of revenge. And if it's against Sam Levitt, then yeah, there's no asterisk to it whatsoever. So you could put an asterisk definitely on this Arizona State team right now until Sam Levitt returns.
Yes, definitely. I don't think that's definitely this game yesterday was an exact representation of what Arizona State is. But with that, let's go into this Texas Tech game. Cameron Dickey with the player of the game, 263 rushing yards as Texas Tech puts B to A over KU 42-17.
Yeah, this game, I think it's going to be a trend in the Big 12. The score it doesn't necessarily indicate how the game went. Texas
Right.
Tech, I mean, they went up 21-0 early. Kansas did put up 17 points in the second quarter to make it a competitive game heading into halftime, but then Texas Tech just runs away with it again. But that's not even the main story of this game, and I wish it wasn't the case. But this, like, the main story coming out of this was in the post game handshake line. Lance Leipold was complaining to Joey McGuire about people throwing stuff onto the field. Obviously, we know at Texas Tech, throwing the tortillas on the field, that's a thing, and that's a given. And it is in the Big 12 like officiating rule book to give them a warning because they know that. That's tradition. That's fine. But apparently, from what Lance Leipold has said, people were throwing batteries. Somebody even threw a pocket knife onto the field, and Lance Leipold kind of made a big storm about it. So I want to get your take on like the whole like obviously throwing like the whole tortilla throwing tradition. What is even your thought on that? I don't know why we're even talking about this, but here we are.
Uh, I mean, I like it. It's something unique that makes it's unique to a fan base. Um, so I don't really have a problem with it. Especially if that's Texas, since that's Texas Tech's tradition of throwing tortillas onto the field. Now I do have a feeling like of throwing like now, yes, once it gets to throwing batteries and maybe a pocket knife, like I just the pocket knife thing is sort of hard to believe. Um, Not saying that he's lying, but I was just like that now that's very that could be very dangerous, especially like if that thing is open, it could cut somebody. Like
Yeah.
now that's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's double basically tell him like Joey McGuire to take care of like this. But my question to that is, what is Joey McGuire going to do? Is he going to go up to every single person in the stands, tell them we're only throwing one tortilla like the whole game? You only get one tortilla to throw, and that's it. Like, you think he's going to be able to do that? No.
No,
Joey McGuire cannot control all this, all like whatever the capacity of was it Jones AT&T Stadium?
right?
Like I gotta look at this. The capacity of that being 60,000. Yeah, what is Joey McGuire gonna do up to 60? Go up to every all the 60,000 plus people. Tell them we only get one tortilla to throw. Like if it was only the tortillas and Lance Leipold was just winding up a storm, then come on, dude. But I mean, if it was actually like that pocket knife, fine. I mean, there's a rule in place. Obviously, throwing things on the field gets the team like be offended like or whatever 15-yard penalty, and we saw that multiple times in the Texas Tech game because people were throwing stuff in the third and fourth quarter. Now this game wasn't close, so it really didn't have an effect on the outcome. But if there was a tighter game and you had those 15-yard penalties, those could be like game changing.
Right. No, you're exactly right. Um, all right, let's move on to Cincinnati UCF. This was a weird game. Cincinnati holds on and beats UCF 20-11.
Honestly, yeah. I think Cincinnati in this game, they played a C game and they were still able to win convincingly. The UCF or Central Florida, they got that touchdown late in the fourth quarter when it basically didn't really matter. So Cincinnati just did whatever they wanted to. Yeah, the score from Central Florida came at like the under at like the 2 minute timeout or whatever for them. So it
Yeah,
really that score really didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Cincinnati just dominated start to finish, and yeah, not even playing their best game,
yeah,
and
because
still
I
were able to
know
do that.
I know Scott Satterfield was not happy with how they played. So definitely a lot for Cincinnati to improve on. But yeah, man, Cincinnati is a legit player, and I just looked at the standings. I believe they are now in first place, tied with BYU for the lead in the Big 12 right now.
And Texas Tech. It's a three-way tie at the top.
Do they play Texas Tech this year?
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They do not. They do not play Cincinnati. Cincinnati
Oh.
and Texas Tech don't play each other, but Cincinnati does have to play Utah and BYU.
Okay. Okay.
And then I think for Tech, we mentioned Arizona State. They got to play BYU. So BYU between those three is going to be the one that I think that's going to be the most probable one that can change things because if BYU wins both of those games, then they're going to have the no doubter, and then it's just going to kind of tiebreakers. But if either Texas Tech or Cincinnati beats BYU, then you can have tiebreakers, and they probably maybe they possibly both get in. But that's just a thing for tiebreakers. We're heading to another situation, and even though I was just not involved in it this year, we are getting the chaos of tiebreakers, and I'm here for it.
Hey, who knows, man? If it look, I will never say it's over until it is. Who
Mm-hmm.
knows? We could go on a run and be 9-2 and still have a mathematical way to get in. Like last year, we weren't sure if we needed to be K State and then we needed BYU, all of that. We weren't
Yeah,
sure that we needed, but hey, anything can happen.
yeah.
As you know, I'm the eternal sunshine pumper of
At the
of,
end of the
of,
day, it's all
of
about
this
taking
fan
care of
base.
your business. At the
Yeah,
end of the
take
day,
care of business. Yeah,
and the
control
rest
what
will
we.
fall in. Yeah, and the rest will fall in place for you.
Yes, and this is a and this next game, man, isn't it amazing what you could do when when you basically let Avery Johnson lose? Kansas State wins 41-28. Uh, their offense has looked absolutely amazing ever since they just literally let Avery Johnson loose, and I sort of wonder what their season would have looked like if they would have let him play like this from the start.
Yeah. Ah, I mean, the thing with Kansas State, yeah, this game, it certainly was a much better game. It's about time they let him lose, yeah. And I think this one would. Oh man, if they had played like this sooner, our win against Kansas State would have aged so much better. But no,
I know.
they had to f around the entire non-con schedule, nearly losing to North Dakota, losing to Army. That pisses me off, and that's why I probably hate them even more. It's like, come on, boys, you are so much better than this. What are you doing? Just let Avery Johnson be Avery Johnson. Don't try to force him into something he's not. And when he did try that, look, it didn't work. And now look what happens when you let him play the way he can, he can play, and the way his play style works. Boom, simple as
Well, look at their schedule. These next few games, they could throw a wrench in the really throw a wrench into things. They're at Kansas for the Sunflower Showdown, and they play Texas Tech after that. I
that.
mean, you want to talk about putting a conference into a frenzy? We were talking about Kansas State possibly being a chaos team. Imagine if they take down Texas Tech. Obviously, I don't think that will happen, but who know, bro? You never know, man, with this crazy conference in the Big 12. But
I
jeez,
mean, the thing with that is Kansas State hosts Texas Tech, so that's in their home. That's in Manhattan, so that gives a slight boost to Kansas State's chances. I don't know if it'll happen, but you do have the home crowd, so who knows? Things can get wild. And we mentioned the chaos team. They're playing last year's chaos team in Kansas in the Sunflower State Showdown. What in the? How about that? How poetic would that be? The two teams that caused the most chaos in the last 2 years are both from the state of Kansas.
yeah, so at the beginning of the year, I thought for sure that the streak was going to end. Unfortunately, I think Kansas State is going to win and
Yeah,
win by a lot next week.
yeah,
Unfortunately,
yeah. And speaking of this game, TCU, what is going on with them? Because I think a lot of people thought TCU was going to be a legit contender in the Big 12, and they have not looked great. Josh Hoover, he did have 376 passing yards, but he also threw two interceptions, which ultimately, and also I think he got strip sacked for one of the interceptions Josh Hoover threw was a pick six, and then there was another. There were two defensive touchdowns for Kansas State, and I think the other one might have been yeah, I think the other one might have been a scoop and score.
So
Uh,
yeah, it's untimely turnovers, playing undisciplined football, and then their defense, like we said, is a liability. So
yeah.
it's exactly what we talked about something that we were worried about with this TCU team about their defense, not of this team not having a defense, and now they're just sitting here. I'm maybe thinking what could have been, but hey, they have the next week they have the rivalry against Baylor, so let's see if
Mhm.
they can get it together. Believe Baylor was on a bye week this week.
Yeah, let me just take a look at that. Oh, Baylor, yeah, Baylor was, yeah, they were on the bye after beating Kansas State. So yeah, they were on the bye this week.
Gotcha,
So yeah.
gotcha.
Mhm. So yeah, I think that was the entirety of the Big 12. And you want, I mean, the Big 12, yeah, Iowa State was one of those teams that like it was ranked last, and they dropped out of the AP poll, which I'm not surprised about. But
I'm
uh,
in.
but nationally, oh,
Oh
we got some
baby.
juiciness to talk about. I want to talk about this national slate, dude, because they,
Oh
oh
my goodness.
man, oh the juice in this one. Oh man, I mean, we're gonna start with the big game in the American. You had a
Oh,
number 24 South. I'm gonna start on Friday, if you don't mind.
okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. Let me go up there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while you
My
pull that up,
goodness. Good lord.
South Florida just absolutely dominates North Texas in the second half, and they went 63-36. The thing was for North Texas, this was their first ever sellout for their stadium, so there was a lot of hype going into this for the mean and green of North Texas. And South Florida in the second half, they just shut that down. Byron Brown with 245 yards passing and 3 touchdowns on the day, as their rushing game contributed 300 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. So this was a competitive game in the first half. It was tied up at that 21 apiece, and then South Florida just ran away with it in the second. So it is clear that South Florida is a like legitimately a contender in the American, and they are keeping pace with the likes of Memphis, Navy, and Tulane for that college football playoff spot as the G6 representative.
I mean, the fact that they went off for 28 points in the third quarter, dude. I was watching that game. I'm like, wait a minute. They scored again? They
Yeah.
scored again? I was like, my goodness. Like, what
It's
is
like,
going on here?
yeah. So, I mean, yeah, if that doesn't say something about Alex Golish and what the Bulls got going on in Tampa, I don't know what else to say. So, looking
Alex
at
Golis
South,
is going to be a hot name, man.
yeah, he's going to be hot name for sure in the coaching tree. But before we talk about like anything coaching related, number one Ohio State, they go into Champaign, Illinois, and they take care of number 17 Illinois, 34-16. This was the big noon game, and yeah, this Ohio State just they just held Illinois in check. Really didn't allow too much, and they they showed that. I think this was the first legitimate game that you can say Ohio State is a legitimate team, and they played a legitimate contender in there on the road, and they took care of business. So can't really knock Ohio State for not really playing anybody.
We got to talk about this defense, though. This defense has been a revelation, dude. They're a suffocating team. It's absolutely insane how solid and good this defense is. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't I am at a loss for words. Like it's been a minute since I've seen a college defense shut teams down like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like probably and this is probably the best one I've seen since 2011 Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
where that defense wasn't. Now you want to talk about that defense? That was insane. But yeah, just a dominant effort on the road, and yeah, now like with OSU going on their schedule, I'm interested to see, you know, where because obviously I think they go unblemished until the game that they haven't won in 4 years against Michigan. So
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be a game at the end of the year that's going to have some Big Ten implications. But this is the result of the day right here, man. Kirk Signetti does it again, man. Indiana, the Hoosiers, bro. Indiana is a freaking wagon. They go
Oh,
up to Outson, and Indiana wins 30-20, puts up 10 points in the third quarter. Um, Kirk Signetti was talking his stuff after the game, bro. Like Indiana, if they're not in the top five, like or at least in the top three, then the AP poll is just wrong, man.
yeah.
Because this team is just so good.
Yeah. Speaking on their position in the AP poll, I mean, we know the AP poll is not great, but they just snatched the Oregon's ranking. So not only did Indiana go in and snatch the win from Oregon in Autzen Stadium, they snatched their ranking. They're up to number 3. They're behind Miami and Ohio State, but the Kurt
This
Signetti is for real. Like, and this, I mean, the surge of Indiana football. I did
I
anybody have this on their bingo card
no,
in
I
life?
dude,
Indiana at this point in their life?
dude, I like obviously a friend of the show and my best friend Eric. Like he has family that went to Indiana. I just I am in awe because I like growing up, Indiana has always been a doormat. But now that they have because they have the alumni that have the money, like they have because they have a business school and what
Yeah.
they said a well-renowned business school, like people like
Mm-hmm.
Mike Cuban went there, so they
Yeah.
have the money to put up. They're like, oh, we can finally give money to this program. And if you know anything about Indiana, Indiana is a basketball state through and through.
Yeah.
Like, but the fact that now that Indiana is a football school and is now tied with Ohio State for first place in the Big Ten, like this is I don't I like I'm at a loss for words. Like this Indiana story is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. And hey, maybe the success of football can lead to the resurgence of Indiana basketball because that football money is going to be lucrative. And that means you can sign a lot more talent and come to Indiana because Indiana, obviously, they have the history. They've got the
Right.
notoriety in their history. So they can use that. And then they can use the present leverage of being a successful football school and all the money they can bring in. And in this kind of world of pay to win, essentially, you can just throw bags at people and use the mix of like having those deep pockets and the notoriety of Indiana basketball and it being a basketball state. That so who knows? Maybe Indiana basketball can be revived with this influx of money coming from the football program. So those two can definitely complement each other. And I wouldn't be surprised within the next 10 years, Indiana basketball is back to being a notable powerhouse in college basketball.
Nah, I completely got it. I feel like it's only a matter of time before they're back on top. A few of the other notables: Texas rebounds and wins in a defensive effort, 23-6 over OU in Dallas.
Yeah. The return of John Mateer to Oklahoma definitely did not go well. And I think this is the second year in a row in the Red River shootout that Oklahoma has not scored a touchdown, which is crazy to imagine.
Yeah, it's been 2 years
So,
since they scored a touchdown.
yep. Alabama, they survive a road trip to Como and take down the Missouri Tigers to hand them their first loss of the season and snap Missouri's 15-game winning streak at home. Georgia and LSU
Yeah,
each win 20-10 games in defensive struggles. Tennessee holds off Arkansas 31 or 34-31 against in Neyland. Georgia Tech gets a 35-20 win, so they're showing that they are a clear contender in the ACC, trying to keep pace with Miami. USC gets the upset win over number 15 Michigan in convincing fashion. Jordan Mailata threw for 265 yards, 2 touchdowns as the Southern California Trojans win 31-13. Notre Dame stomps NC State. And number 25, Florida State. Ugh. They are winless in conference play for, again, it's been over a year since Florida State last won an ACC conference game. And yeah, so we thought Florida State was back. Not so fast, my friend, as the
not so
legend
fast,
Lee
my friend.
Corso would say. Yeah. So
Florida
those
State
are,
legend Lee Corso. Yeah,
oh yes. So yeah.
And not to mention USC and Notre Dame played next week. So yeah, that's gonna be cinema. I cannot wait for that game. The bye week has tons of good matchups.
Mhm.
Let's you know what let's take a look at next week real quick. We got a bye
Yeah.
week. We got time. Let's look at some of the
Yeah.
matchups next week.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Friday, October 17th, number 2, Miami hosts Louisville, 6 o'clock on ESPN.
Ooh.
And then on Fox on Friday at 7 p.m., number 25, Nebraska travels to Minnesota to take on the Golden Gophers
Well, let's look at but look at the 11 o'clock slate, dude.
on
We have
Saturday.
LSU going on the road to Nashville to play Vanderbilt in a ranked versus ranked matchup. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the season?
No.
We have
Yep.
Georgia, the top two leaders in the ACC, Georgia Tech going on the road to Duke. That
Yep.
is going to be a game. We
Yeah.
have Arizona facing off against Houston. Both teams are better than what we thought. Houston can get to bowl eligibility with a win on Saturday. We have the rivalry at 11. Army versus Tulane. Tulane trying to stay in the race. So
Mhm.
I mean, and then you have Oklahoma going on the road to South Carolina. We'll see if they have put up a better showing, but
Mhm.
Williams Bryce is going to be tough.
Yep.
Um, and then you see Purdue and Northwestern after having a huge win against Penn State.
We're gonna talk about Penn State later because I think that's gonna be its own. I think I want to just go in on Penn State. That's gonna be
Yes,
its own thing. We'll get to them later. But yeah,
having a yeah,
the
and having a
two.
chance to move to 5-2. Like
Who would have thought
who would have thought,
Northwestern
dude?
being decent at football? Not on my being cart this year. Yeah. So the 2:30 window, number 1 Ohio State travels to Camp Randall to take on the lowly Wisconsin Badgers.
They lost 37-0 to Iowa.
Iowa. Okay, remember we mentioned the over under in that game was 37 and a half. Iowa almost achieved that on their
Iowa
own.
almost covered the spread.
On their own. What?
Holy
Uh,
crap!
things are going so bad in Madison, Wisconsin. I don't know what.
Jeez.
Oh man, the coaching carousel. I think that's got to be something we got to start talking about. We're getting to that point in the year, but we'll get to that. But also in the 2:30 window, number 5 Ole Miss travels to number 9 Georgia. This is going to be a
Ooh.
huge top 10 matchup in the SEC. Ole Miss coming off surviving Washington State. Surprisingly, I don't know how that happened, but they got the win. They're undefeated, but very surprising. We'll see how that shaky performance will be changed when you travel to Stanford Stadium. It's also taking a look around.
Hold on, undefeated UNLV goes on the road to Boise State. UNLV is one of
Hmm.
those teams that is trying to get that group of six, group of five invitation to the playoff, and they are rolling with Dan Mullen right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can also maybe throw in James Madison. They're 5-1, they're 3-0 in the Sun Belt. So maybe James Madison can, if they win convincingly against Old Dominion, then they can start boosting up their resume a little bit for that G6 spot.
And Old
Uh,
Dominion is also in the running for that too, because Old Dominion is pretty good as well.
okay, yeah, so you got that. Oh man, yeah. And
Ooh,
what we got? What we got?
Texas Tech going on the road to Tempe to play Arizona State.
Yep. That'll be interesting to watch. We'll have to see if Sam Lovett's back for that game. Maybe Bear Moore too. We'll just have to see how like the quarterbacks shape up. But I mean, Will Hammond's really good. He's so good as a backup
Yeah,
QB.
he
It's like
is.
they don't miss a step. And then the 6 o'clock window.
Garbage. Garbage.
Oh man, yeah, we're just gonna skip over that because yeah, Penn State plays football, Iowa plays football, and they have to play each other. So yeah, that's all I
Yeah,
need to say.
Iowa's
Anyways,
going to kill them.
anyways, 6:30, Tennessee takes on Alabama. The third Saturday in October is here, and it's prime time. I am here seated, even though like we all hate the SEC. I'm just gonna be seated for it.
No, I'm not gonna cap, bro. The SEC has had so much good football, so I'm gonna watch it. If good football's on, I'm gonna watch it. And at the same time, on NBC and Peacock, we have USC going to South Bend to play Notre Dame. This
Mm-hmm.
this this is a game where I've wanted it to have juice and have meaning because
Again.
when they were both in their heyday,
Oh,
Notre Dame USC. I think the most memorable game in that was the 2005 the Bush Push game.
oh,
Yeah.
man. I heard about that. I mean, great. I was only 2, but I did hear about that as I grew up a little
Oh,
older and learned more about college
yeah.
football. I've heard about the infamous Bush push. You ask other families how they think about it. Notre Dame will tell you they were really pissed about it. You ask a USC fan about it. Oh yeah, that they would be jubilant to ask you to tell you. But we get to 7 o'clock, dude. The Holy War on prime time. Fox.
Oh
Yes.
baby. Oh baby. That is good. I cannot wait for that one.
This is going to be a perfect day to be seated down. It's a perfect day to be to have a bye week here, Iowa State. Not only for the team to get refreshed and refocused, but also to just sit on your couch and watch what's going to be really good football. But can't say the same about Penn State, Iowa, and boy, oh boy, this is what we just alluded to a little bit. Penn State, they fired James Franklin. I can't believe they
I
actually
can't
pulled the
believe they
trigger,
actually did it.
dude.
Yeah.
When I saw that news break, I was like, oh my god, they actually did it. They pulled it off. I didn't think they'd
Well,
actually. I mean, it was trending in that direction, but I didn't expect them to do it this early.
well, it's absolutely insane. I didn't think they would do. I didn't think they had the heart to do it. I figured that they were like, well, he got us to the
The
playoff
playoff
semifinals, and
semifinal, yeah.
I guess it wasn't good enough. So
Nope.
yeah, Iowa State fans, be prepared for
Oh, it's
the
already
Matt
happened.
Campbell to Penn State rumors
Oh, it's
because
already
it's
happened.
going to be hot and ready.
you
Uh,
know, you know what's crazy? Even with us, even with Matt Campbell losing 2 straight games, somehow he's like, we made the joke that like Matt Campbell lost those games so he wouldn't be mentioned in those rumors. He still is. On 3 ESPN has like reported that there's expressed interest to bring in Matt Campbell. And they make the joke of take a drink for every time Matt Campbell's name is brought up in a new coaching hire. Well, I guess with James Franklin being brought up, I mean, I already finished this. So I'm going to have another one after the show. But yeah, this is going to be hilarious. And I low-key want to go in person to watch this. Absolute ass.
yeah,
Wait a minute, tickets are as
this
low as
is
57. Oh my god, wait, hold on. Let me check my bank account. I may have gone broke, just buying a bunch of liquor to deal with the last 2 weeks. But if I have enough money in the bank, I might honestly go get a student ticket to watch this spectacle.
in Iowa City.
Yep.
I would.
Oh,
Because I
it's gonna. This is gonna be so ass, and it's dude, the over under for this on ESPN is 38 and a half.
good lord. Yeah, I don't even know who Penn State's quarterback is, so yeah, I'd bet the under.
Yeah, with Drew Aller being out, oh yeah, he's out for the year.
He's
That's what
out
he's
for the
going
years, and I don't like
to
Penn State literally has
uh,
nothing to play for now. Like so, yeah, they might not win a game for the rest of the year.
yeah, we talk about us as Iowa State fans not winning a game the rest of the year. Penn State is looking a whole lot worse because this is their schedule. They got to go at Iowa, then they got to go at Ohio State. They host number 3 Indiana. They're at Michigan, yeah, and then they got to host number 25 Nebraska.
Oh, they ain't winning none. They're gonna go 3-9. They're about to go 3-9,
I
bro.
mean, they do have games at Michigan State, at Rutgers, so well, who knows?
Nah,
Maybe they can
they
go. But
at least
the
5-7. But geez,
the fall of James Franklin has to be studied. I want to write a
bro,
master. I want this to be somebody's master thesis as to how a man can fall. And what's crazy is Penn State is going to be paying James Franklin $50 million to not coach.
that's insane. They have crazy money.
If I could like make $50 million just sitting on my couch, sitting right here talking about sports, I would take it in a heartbeat. That must be
Sure
nice to
would.
do. But
Uh,
man, it just pissed me.
if there are any sponsors watching, if you're willing to pay us $50 million, is that carbless?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Carbless,
Carlos.
not a sponsor, but could be. If you
Yeah,
like Gypsy C, we would love to be uh, a presenting presenter of
yeah,
your great product.
yeah. I mean, shout out to Jake, Bren, Derek Duke, and the rest of the Iowa every guys. They pretty much put me onto this, so yeah. I got to thank those guys for putting me onto Carbless, and it's been great. Like, I don't have to just drink beer all the time whenever I'm drinking. I can just drink this. I feel great, and it doesn't feel like too heavy on me, so I can just drink multiple of these, and I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't worry too much about like feeling terrible.
Well, there you go. make sure you grab carbless at your local Iowa grocer. All right, one thing before we end. I have this just in your, and we're gonna get our last thoughts, but for real, Cody, how do you think this team is gonna respond?
I think the team, like they got to. They obviously we need them to show that they can respond. Because last week, after Cincinnati, we thought they would against Colorado. It clearly looks like it's not a 1 week fix. So hopefully, with this bye week and all the preparation for BYU, then they have a little more time to really hone in on these things that they need to fix. So this bye week comes at a perfect time for the team to get refreshed. The first bye week came at a perfect time when we had just traveled so many miles. So I think this is another perfectly placed bye week. So hopefully they use this bye week well to get refocused, refreshed, and come out ready to swing and dominate against BYU and Arizona State at home. Because you know you got homecoming. You're playing BYU for homecoming, so you need to show that you're not going to get embarrassed in your home field, especially in a high stakes game like that.
Yeah, this is the gut check time of the schedule. Um, like things may not be as much in front of you as you thought before, but hey, until you are mathematically eliminated, we still have a chance at this thing.
Yeah.
So do not lose hope, guys. All right, we are gonna wrap it up today. We're an hour and 6 minutes in. Man, we had so many people, dude. We had 95 people. 95 people who are watching today. I saw that ticker go. I'm like, 95? But
Okay.
96 now. So, man, thank you for all you sickos
Yeah.
that have tuned in. We've been looking at the numbers; they've been increasing every single
Yeah.
week. So that means that I guess we're doing a good job. So, congrats to you and me, Cody. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I put it on the wall on my page, but on the feed spot thing, we have moved up to one of the top 10 sports podcasts in the state of Iowa. We are now at number 7.
Ooh,
So
okay.
and now we are, and then for top 100 overall listened to podcasts in the state of Iowa, we are now number 33. So just a
Wow.
testament to everyone who has tuned in. We thank you guys for your continued support. But a few things we're gonna do before we end the show. A big thank you to FanDuel. Make sure there are tons of promos right now. We're in the league championship series right now. The matches are set. We have Brewers, Dodgers, and then we have a matchup between the Blue Jays and the Mariners.
Well,
So it's
okay.
gonna be great, great, great
Yeah.
baseball.
Real quick, what's going to be your World Series prediction? Who are you predicting that is going to advance to the World Series, and then who are you picking to win the World Series out of those four
So I
teams?
have Dodgers, Blue Jays, and I think the Dodgers win in 6.
I low key want. I I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's the Dodgers Blue Jays, but my heart tells me I'm going to be bold and I'm
Brewers,
wanting to
Mariners.
go. Yeah, Brewers Mariners, and then I'm going Brewers to win the World Series.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Brewers winning the World Series, nice. I
Yep.
mean, as a White Sox fan, that would make me happy, but I don't. I also don't like the petty stuff that Milwaukee does. But it's whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, but yeah, we have that. We have the NFL going on in full swing right now. Hockey just started back up. So if one of their sickos that likes to bet on hockey, bet on that. We're coming up
Basketball, yeah,
basketball.
NBA.
Yeah, the NBA. You can bet on college basketball. So
I
there's
can't
all
wait.
of that. The promos are endless on FanDuel. So
Yep.
if you know ball, go and make money with that. Also, find us on social media. 6 forms of social media: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch. On Twitch, we're at Believe in ISU 2025. Also, find us on Twitter. Converse with us on Twitter.
Yep.
I am at SciTie Guy on Twitter, and Cody is at Matt Campbell.
Yeah. Real
Any more
quick.
thoughts before you leave?
Yeah, speaking of my Twitter, yeah, you might have noticed a little bit of a change. I am now going by Tierney Jackson's ankle boot because this is a nod to our volleyball team because they are cooking this year. They only have, I believe they are 14-3 on the year. They just suffered a loss to a top 15 Kansas school who is a lot better than their record, even though their record's only like 8-6 or 9-6. They've played some really tough like really top teams. Think of them playing the equivalent of the top of the Big Ten and SEC in terms of volleyball, with like throwing in the top ACC school in there. So Wisconsin's kind of like the Michigan of
Mm-hmm.
college volleyball. Creighton, I would throw in as like the equivalent to Miami.
Yeah.
Purdue is right up there too. They're like second tier, maybe Indiana. Yeah, so yeah, yeah. Right now, I'm locked in on volleyball, really good, and I mean they've got a home match against, I believe, West Virginia this week, so I'm getting out to that on Thursday before I go out to Mugs and get drunk.
All right. So make sure to, if you see Cody and you go to the volleyball match, make sure to meet up with him and say what's up. He will come
Mhm.
up and say hi to you.
Yep.
All right. So that we'll wrap it up. So for Tyler Carter,
And for Cody Ranciello,
this is the Believe in Iowa State podcast. Roll clones, baby.
go Cyclones!